Hello everyone, I'm Mariah,
I'm Luke.
And I'm Nick.
and today we're going to talk to you about crash fatalities in the United States.
The data that we chose is called Fatality Analysis Reporting System regarding the amount of crashes that occur in each state, what the crash included, the date, etc.
So today we're going to talk about the business problem in statement, which we came up with two questions. The first question is, as a car insurance company, are there certain states that may have more opportunities than others? And our second question is, what time/day of the week has the most accidents?
To analyze the data and to find answers to the questions that we pose, we'll be using Power BI. Power BI has visualizations. You can have bindings and look at trends within the data, and then we're able to discuss the reasoning behind those visualizations and choices to really narrow down how we got the answers to our questions.
So this is our first chart within Power BI, and this chart shows us the number of accidents within each state. As you can see, there are many red states, and the red states indicate the number where there are high fatalities. So for example, in Florida, there are 2,699. Texas has a high number of 3,124, and California has 2,925. As the shades of the colors go from a light red to blue, the numbers decrease. So like New Hampshire, for example, is only at 103, which is pretty low in comparison to Texas. And all of these states over here are also low as well, with Wyoming only having 129 fatalities.
So now we're going to be talking about this chart, which talks about the total fatalities and how much of those fatalities are from drunk drivers. So this has a wide range of numbers from all the way down to Vermont that has 57 fatalities and 14 of them being from drunk drivers, all the way up to Massachusetts that has 306 fatalities and 70 of them are because of drunk drivers. So these numbers may seem high up here in Massachusetts and Connecticut, but this does not really compare to the total amount of the scatter plot when looked at the whole U.S. as a whole. As we talked about earlier, Texas, California, and Florida have the highest amount of fatalities. That is based off their total population in their specified state. So looking at those the previous states in New England, those were roughly around in this area, and it does not even compare to the rest of the state, the rest of the nation. So the next chart starts to talk about the weather conditions and the total fatalities based off the weather conditions. And originally you would think that during snow, rain, cloudy, and fog, you would see that there are the most fatalities, but you actually find out that during the clear times, that's where you find the most amount of fatalities and crashes, with snow actually being the smallest percentage of that total number. We then ended up breaking up into even more based off of where the crashes occurred in either rural or urban, and we noticed from just the blind eye that you do see that there's about 50% that happens in both the urban and the rural areas in a lot of these different aspects of the chart. So when it comes to the weather conditions, we see that clear has the most fatalities, and it does not matter where the land use is of rural or urban.
So next we're going to look at the total fatalities in comparison to the day of the week. So this goes from Sunday at the start to Saturday at the end. And as we can see, in the weekday portion of this, the fatalities are much lower. But as we get into the weekend, the fatalities get much higher. So down below, where we have the least amount of fatalities, is Rhode Island and Vermont. In the middle is New Hampshire and Maine. And then in the top is Massachusetts and Connecticut. And again, this is probably connected a lot towards the population of these states. But the most important thing to note here is that the weekends are where more fatalities happen. Going forward and related to this, we looked at the fatalities in comparison to the time of the day. So we found that in the daylight, as mentioned earlier, there are much more fatalities in comparison to the dawn. And then this seems to be a trend across all the states. And again, it's with Connecticut and Massachusetts on average or in general having the most fatalities. But again, the important thing to note is that on the weekends and within the daylight is where most of those fatalities happen.
In conclusion, we have discussed the crash fatalities in the United States. We have found that Texas, Florida, and California may have more opportunities for car insurance companies since they have the highest number of fatalities out of all of the states. And we've also found that the day and time of the week that has the most accidents is during daylight and on the weekends.
Thank you all very much for listening today. If there are any comments or questions, feel free to check out our YouTube link and put those comments and questions in the comments section, or send us a direct message to get more information.